Council, are we ready to continue?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, members of the audience. We are ready to proceed with the next witness. Mr. Usher, can you kindly bring in the witness?
Thank you.
I, Senghore, do swear that I'll speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. So help me God.
Thank you, Mr. Usher. Good afternoon, Mr. Senghore.
Good afternoon.
We have met on a few occasions, and as you know, my name is Sagar, and I will be questioning you today on behalf of the commissioners. Please assume a comfortable seating position. Just lean back in your chair and just draw the microphone closer to you. Speak loudly and clearly into the microphone so that everyone can hear you in the hearing room. Also allow a few seconds between my questions and your answers to avoid overlap in speech, and also to assist the interpreters who are also interpreting your testimony into the different local languages. We've met a few times, like I said, and I have previously warned you about the duty to tell the truth. And I've also told you that it is an offense under the Trrc Act not to tell the truth, to lie to the Commission. I'll give you a brief overview of the main topic that we'll be discussing today. I'll go through briefly with you on your personal details and some of your biographical information, but we will mainly focus on the events of the 11th day of April 2000, and also your subsequent victimization and the treatment that you received as a result of the injuries that you sustained on that day, locally here in the Gambia as well as abroad. You will also be given an opportunity to say some final words to the Gambian public after the commissioners have questioned you. I hope that is understood.
Yes.
Are you ready to proceed with your testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Kindly tell me what your name is.
My name's Sainey Senghore.
And where do you live?
I am living in Barra.
And where is Barra?
In the North Bank region, Lower Nyumi.
And what is your date of birth and your current age?
I was born 26 July 1986.
And where were you born?
I was born in Lamen, Kombonot.
Can you give me a brief summary of your educational background?
I attended Maninarim Primary from 91 to 96. After my common entrance, I was sent to Berending Junior Secondary from 96 to 99, where I did grade 7 to grade 9. From 99, I sat to the grade 9 exams. Then I proceed to SL Senior Secondary, where from 99 to April 2000. April 11, 2000. So basically, I spent roughly about 3 to 4 months in senior secondary. That is from 99 September to April 11, 2000.
And what grades were you when you attended SAO Senior Secondary School?
Sorry?
What grades were you in when you attended SAO Senior Secondary School?
Grade 10. I was in grade 10.
Did you complete?
No,
Okay, can you tell us why you did not complete?
because of the event of April 10th and 11th.
Okay. Kindly tell us what happened on the 11th day of April 2000.
On the 11th day of April,
Please lean back in your chair and just
Sorry.
draw the microphone. Yeah, just be comfortable, please.
yes, okay.
Please go on.
On April 11, it was on a Tuesday. Actually, on Monday, I went to school. We already have our maths examination papers. So on the Tuesday, we were supposed to have our biology exams, which I studied hard for, because then our biology teacher was a Peace School, an American. She promised us that the best 3 students out of her subject, she will provide scholarships for them. Knowing the background that I was coming from, I studied hard to make sure that I was among the first 3 students so that I could benefit from the scholarship she promised.
Can you tell us what the background you were from was like? Just explain so that we can understand what kind of family background that you came from.
I am from an extended family, and most of my siblings were dropouts because of financial difficulties from my parents. I was not actually living with them, I was with my uncle. So I was the only one who was lucky to go up to grade 10. So I feel it was necessary for me to study hard. At least the money that was supposed to be used on me will be given to another person among the family, so anyone could benefit and go to school just like me. I studied hard, spent the whole night reading. On the morning, when we prepared and get to school, upon arrival at the gate, we found students standing there, and some of these teachers too were outside the school gates.
Can you tell us which school you're referring to?
I mean SL Senior Secondary. Then they told us that there is no schools today. I asked why. They said there is going to be a demonstration today because already one has already taken place in Combo, and they have killed most of the students there.
Can you tell us who told you that there was going to be a demonstration, and who was going to demonstrate, and what they were going to demonstrate about?
There were a lot of students standing outside because it was exams period. Obviously, all the students will come to school for their papers. But like what has happened in the Combo, they said it was necessary for them to do the same demonstration because it affects a member of them, 1 or 2 members of them, which are the students and the subsequent killings of other students.
Please elaborate on what had happened the previous day.
The previous day, when I asked, they told me they demonstrate because they have 2 students who were victimized. One by the name Ibrahim Abari, a boy from Foster Senior who was beaten by the the Fire and Rescue Services, which led to his subsequent death. And a girl, Binta from Birkamaba, who was raped at the Independence Stadium by the security personnel who were to protect her as well. So that was the reason they said they will demonstrate to seek justice for them.
So you're saying that the previous day, which was the 10th day of April 2000,
Yes.
students demonstrated as a result of these two incidents that you mentioned.
Correct.
Can you tell us where these demonstrations took place?
Within the combos, on the 11th, that was the day it affected the provinces, that is in the urban area, rural areas of the Gambia.
Okay. Before we move on to the 11th, just kindly tell us what happened during the demonstrations that occurred on the 10th day of April in the combos.
Students were shot. We have 14 of them who passed away, including a Red Cross volunteer and a 3-year-old boy.
And kindly tell us how the students came to the decision to demonstrate on the 11th day of April 2000.
At the time, there was a student body called GAMSU. They have their executives. They organize themselves. They try to engage the government through the Minister of Education and the authorities involved. But they were not ready to listen to them. And they feel it was necessary for them to come out and protest, which is their right, and seek for justice for the two victims, that is Binta and Ibrahim Abari.
So kindly continue and tell us what happened on the 11th day of April 2000 at your school, Esau Secondary School.
Yeah, like I said, when we get to the school and they said there is no school because of there is going to be a demonstration. I was there with my friends and my relatives whom I came from the same compound with. If I could remember, I was there with Momodu Job, Habib Jeng, who is an uncle, Adama Choi, who is a friend. So we said, as far as there is no school, we have to go home. But we supposed to go to Bara, and these people, they decided that they are going to Bara, from Esau to Bara. The demonstration was only meant from Esau to Bara. So we said, let's go home. On the way coming, the group is behind us. We were in front.
Can you tell us what group you're referring to?
The students that are coming from the school.
And what were they doing?
On the way coming, they were shouting, justice, justice, that they want justice for Ibrahima and Binta.
So these were the students who were actually demonstrating?
Yes.
Okay, please continue.
On the way coming, when we reach at Esau, there is a way bridge that the GPA use to weigh the vehicles that are crossing the ferry. They passed by there and broke the glass windows of the buildings there.
Can you tell us what they used to break the glass windows?
They used stones. They threw on the windows and break them. From there, we proceed coming towards Bara.
Before we go there, tell us what the behavior of the students were like. Apart from breaking the glasses and shouting justice for the students, what was their general behavior?
It was not violent, I can tell. Apart from the glasses that they break, the only thing that they were saying is justice. And we want justice for the two victims, that is Ibrahima and Binta.
Did they seem to be angry?
Obviously, they will be angry because you will not feel fine when your colleague is being victimized, which caused his death, and a lady being raped, a teenager for that matter. Obviously, they will be angry.
So you said you were walking from Essau, going towards Barra with your friends.
Yes.
Can you tell us what your proximity was to the students who were demonstrating? Where were you, and where were the students who were demonstrating?
We were just in front of them. The proximity was not that long. We were just some meters away from them.
And can you tell us whether you were part of those demonstrations?
Initially, no, because when we were coming from the school, we decided that we are going home. But that was the only route we could use to get to Barra. It's the main highway that we can use to get to Barra. And they were behind us, so obviously it will look like we are in the same group.
But you were not part of the student demonstrations in Barra?
At the beginning, no, but later on, I see myself as being part of it. Because after then, I understand if I was Ibrahim Abari, probably Ibrahim Abari that passed away would have stand for me and demonstrate. I have sisters. If my sister was being raped, I will not feel happy. So when I see somebody else's sister being raped, the same feeling that I feel for my sister is the same feeling I would feel for her.
So initially, although you did not want to join the demonstrations, you later resonated with the demonstrators and decided that you would join them?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what happened as you left Essau, walking down the highway, going towards Barra.
Yeah. After we left, they left the GPA when we come in. Around Essau, before the health center, there is a police checkpoint. Just about 100 or 200 meters away from the checkpoint, we saw security personnel standing on a line.
Tell us what kind of security personnel you saw.
These were police officers. And on the line, they were holding guns, that is AK-47s.
Do you remember how many of them there were? Can you give an estimate?
There will be more than two, because it is a checkpoint, and if you have more than 5 to 6 police officers at a checkpoint, obviously it's not normal. So there were more than 5. I would say up to 10.
Please continue.
When we saw them standing, we halted. Then they started shooting. But when they start shooting, they did not shoot directly at us at the first place. They shoot as we hear the gunshots. When I turned to run, I felt something hit my leg.
What leg did you feel something?
My right leg. That is the outside of my thigh. Because I turned to run, obviously I faced them. So when I turned to run, that is the reason when they shot, it get to the side of my leg. When I felt something hit me, I was like, I don't know, my leg stiffed, so I have to raise it up. When I removed my hand, I saw blood all over my hand. So I said to my brother, I think I am shot. So that is Momodu Diop. He wanted to come and help. I told him, no, you have to run. If not, you will be shot. At that point, I could not move, so I fell on the ground. After some time, the nearby compound, the landlord came out to help me.
Okay, let me just take you a few steps back. You mentioned that when the paramilitary pointed their guns, they did not initially direct the guns at the students. Where were they directing the guns towards?
No, if I said they did not shot directly on us, but they shot like above our head. That would be 1 or 2, but I only heard of 2, 3 or 4 shots. Then I felt something hit my leg.
And where did those shots come from?
Obviously from the security personnel.
Okay. Tell us what happened after you fell down near a neighboring compound.
Yeah, the landlord came out of his compound. He helped me with some of the students that were in his compound. I could recall one, Mudu Maron. He has to remove his uniform and tied it on my leg because I was losing a lot of blood at that time.
And these students who were in the compound, what students were they? Who were they? And what were they doing there?
They were students from SO school. We came from the same school, but I think they risked their life coming out to help me. After I was shot, they decided to come out and help me, rush me inside that compound.
What were you doing in that compound?
When they started shooting, they rushed get into that compound so they could have, I would call it a fortress, where to hide.
So kindly continue and tell us what happened next.
When they get me into his compound, it's not too far away from the hospital. It will be like 150 meters away from the hospital. He use his bagway. He has a bagway. They use his compound back door and rush me to the hospital. That is the SO Health Center.
Can you tell me why they were using the back way instead of the main road?
Because the security personnel were at the checkpoint, and they were shooting at that time, continually shooting at that time. I later on felt very dizzy, so I started losing consciousness a little bit.
Can I just clarify a few points? After you were shot and you fell down, did any of the security officers approach you or offer any assistance to you?
No, not at that time.
Okay. So you said you started feeling dizzy, and what happened next?
I started to to feel unconscious. Then they rushed me to the hospital, where they prepared me to maybe reduce the flow of the blood that I was losing. But they have to contact my family immediately so that they could prepare and rush to Banjul, because I was losing a lot of blood and they would need blood transfusion, so they will need blood donor.
Which hospital were you rushed to at SL?
RVH.
In SL, which hospital did you refer to?
That is the SL Health Center.
So what happened after you got to the health center and they contacted members of your family to donate blood?
Yeah, after that they prepared me and I was transferred to the RVH.
Did you receive any other treatment from SL Health Center before you were referred to RVH?
I understand I was injected because I was feeling a lot of pain, and I said to them, I was really feeling pain. If they can give me anything that can subsidize the pain. And that was the time they injected me. I felt almost something like 5 or more injections at the time. Actually, the nurse the head nurse at the time, we happened to come from the same village, Lameng. She was Auntie Malen, and I have another Auntie Ramu, who was a nurse there. So they took me as it was their responsibility to take care of me. Auntie Malen has to join the ambulance and come with me to the RVH.
And you said you eventually fell unconscious.
Yes.
What happened when you regained consciousness? Where did you find yourself?
That would be after 2 days that I just saw myself in a room with a lot of people standing by. The first person that I recognized was my mom. She was sitting next to me.
Are you okay? Take your time.
I'm fine.
Yeah, please continue.
She was sitting next to me. I saw members of my families and friends. But then I could not talk because I was on severe pain.
So it's correct that you were actually in a coma for 2 days?
If not coma, then probably I was not just feeling conscious, maybe coma, I could say. But
in any case, you were not conscious of your surroundings during these 2 days, and you couldn't remember what happened as well?
I have to wake up around 5 or 4 o'clock in the night because I was feeling very hungry. So that the first 5 days I spent the night with my father, so I have to wake him around 4 o'clock and tell him I was really feeling hungry, that I wanted to eat. He has to provide, it was bananas and some juice, at least to get something in my stomach.
All right. Can you just tell us, after the first 2 days, when you regained consciousness and saw members of your family surrounding you, did you eventually realize where you were?
Yeah, because I saw the nurses, so I obviously know I am in a hospital, and it's a ward. But the place was so strange to me because then I've never been at the RVTH, so I didn't know how it looks like.
Can you tell us what the RVH or RVTH is? Can you give us the full name?
Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital.
And what is that hospital known as presently?
I think it's the RVTH. It's the Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital, the major referral hospital in the Gambia, in Banjul.
Do you know if the name has changed?
Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital.
Okay, all right. So you said you were in severe pain after you regained consciousness.
Yes.
Do you know if anything happened during those 2 days that you were at the hospital? Did anything happen to you? Did you receive any treatment?
Yeah, I understand they took me to the theater, and the bullet was removed from my leg. This I was told by the doctor who operated me.
And who was the doctor that operated on you?
He's an Egyptian doctor. He was Dr. Nawa.
And can you tell us where the bullet was retrieved from and what other information the doctor gave you about your injuries?
He said he removed the blood from my inside of my leg, and I have 4 to 5 blood vessels that were cut. 5 of my blood vessels were cut, but he managed to repair them.
Did anything else happen to any part of your leg?
After that, yeah, I understand they put sort of a nail. It will be of this size into the flesh of my leg.
Sorry, can you repeat that? They put what?
It will be a metal.
A piece of metal.
A piece of metal.
Yes.
Just like this size, and it was put into the flesh of my leg, just below the knee.
For what purpose? Sorry for interrupting you.
To stretch the leg. Then things were not that much advanced. They will use that and have these small bags that they will put sand in it. It will weigh something like, it will be more than 5, 6, maybe 10, not up to 10 kilos, or probably 10. They will use that to stretch your leg so that the bone will get back to its normal place.
Can you tell us what happened to the bone in your leg? You haven't mentioned it yet.
Had a fractured bone.
And how did that happen? How was your bone fractured?
It was a multiple fracture because the distance from which I was shot was not too far, so it causes a lot of damage to my bone.
Are you saying that the bullet that shot you basically
Yes.
caused these multiple fractures in your leg?
Yes.
So as a result, they had to use this piece of metal inserted in your flesh,
Yes.
just above the knee.
Below the knee.
Below the knee.
Yes.
Okay. And what was this supposed to do?
That's what I am saying. They use it. They will tie a sand of bark with some kilos. There will be a rope that will be tied by the leg, and it will stretch the leg so that the bone will get back to its normal place.
And when you had regained consciousness and woke up at RVH, this operation had already been done, and this piece of metal had already been inserted into your leg.
Yes.
And how did it feel when you woke up?
It was so painful. That was so painful, very, very painful. I would ask the nurse to give me pain relief just to subsidize the pain and slept a little bit.
Were you given any other treatment by the Egyptian doctor?
Yeah, during the process, they will give me some medicines, and I do take a lot of injections. Every day I would take up to 10 injections a day or more, because they said the blood was not flowing as it should through my leg, so they use a lot of injection so it could pump the blood to get to my leg.
And can you tell us why the blood wasn't pumping into your leg?
Because I have my blood vessels that were cut.
And eventually, did you have proper flow of blood into your leg?
No. After that, it even caused another problem, because blood was not flowing, so my foot started gangrene. I think that is a scientific term. I don't know.
You developed gangrene.
Gangrene, yeah, on my toes.
And tell us the symptoms of this gangrene. What did your foot look like?
It was all black. It was totally dead.
Did you have any sensation in that area? Did you feel anything?
No, I would not feel anything. It was completely dead.
So
When it started looking that sick, they increased the number of injections that I would take by the day, probably to 15 by the day. At some point, when they use, is it a cannula, to inject me, it freezes at some point. So you have to use water to sterilize it, to make it flow. But with that,
Please take your time. I know that this is a very painful experience to recount, but just take your time and tell us what happened.
You feel a lot of pain, but I just have to take it. Enjoy it. At some point, I would even tell the nurse, anytime that I see you, I know it's injection. He eventually turned to be a friend.
So the treatment that you received, the surgery you received from the doctor and the different treatments, including the multiple injections, did not actually help with the gangrene that you developed in your foot?
No, it did not help. It continues like that. At some point, I have to ask him, why is my toes in this shape? He would tell me it will be fine, just because the blood was not flowing. But with these injections, it will soon be okay.
So he kept reassuring you and telling you that you would get better?
Yes, exactly.
And did you get better?
No.
When you found yourself at the hospital ward at RVTH, were you the only one who was in that ward, or were there other patients in that ward?
There were other patients, because this was the second day of the demonstration, so obviously there are other patients there. The ward was full with students. I would say 95% of the patients there were students.
And how big was the ward?
This is 8 and 3 at the RVH, so a sizable ward.
How many patients would it normally accommodate?
It was more than 20 at that time.
And you're saying that 95% of these patients were all student victims from the different demonstrations that happened on the 10th and 11th of April 2000?
Yes.
Do you remember any of the victims that you shared the ward with?
Yes, I can remember Lamin Toure. He was a student of Gambia High.
What injuries did he sustain?
He has a very, very serious injury on his leg, because his right leg was amputated. Immediately he gets to the hospital. There was one Bakari Njai, Abdukarim Jame.
Kindly tell us what injuries Bakari Njai had and where he was from.
I would not know the school he was from, but he was shot on his leg. Abdukarim Jame was from Maska Senior. He was shot on his knee. We have one Omar Sose, he was from St. Augustine's. He too was shot on his leg. So it's 19 years. Most of them I could not recall them anymore. It's been a while.
Abdukarim Jame, you mentioned, who was shot on his knee. What injuries did he sustain on the knee?
His kneecap has a problem. Up till now, his knee cannot bend completely. He cannot bend his knee. He's using a walking stick to help himself walk.
And these are students from the Combos.
Yes.
Can you kindly tell us, is it correct that they were victims from the April 10th demonstrations that you mentioned in evidence?
Yes, they were victims of April 10.
And can you tell us who shot them?
Obviously, it will be the security personnel who shot them.
And where did you get this information from?
It was all over the country, and when we get to the hospital, we come to know each other, and everyone will start explaining his or her story.
And all of the patients that you mentioned, the student victims that were in your ward, were they all shot by the security forces that you mentioned?
Yes, they were shot, yes.
Did anything unusual happen after you were admitted in the hospital? Did anything unusual happen?
Yes, that was this day that we shared, and they said, yeah, Jamie will be coming to the hospital to see the victims.
Which Yaya Jammeh are you referring to?
Yaya Jammeh, the former head of state.
Okay, kindly continue.
On the day that he came to the hospital, I know he himself knows that these people, they did not prepare to see or talk to me, but because we were all like, we will not talk to him. I personally did not talk to him. I did not even look at him, because the moment he gets into the ward, I pretend as I was sleeping, have to cover my face.
Why did you behave in such a manner?
I would say this in Wolof. Domore la bepare jale la. You cannot order or give instructions to kill innocent children, and at the same time you want to come and show sympathy to those kids. What sense does it make?
Please tell us how you came to the conclusion that he gave the order to shoot the students.
He was the head of state, even though he was not in the country. If the vice president acts on his absence, he or she is still acting on his behalf.
And where was he during the April 10th and 11th demonstrations?
I later understand he traveled out of the country.
And whilst he had traveled, who was representing him in the Gambia?
Aissatou Njie said he was representing.
And do you know what, if anything, she had to do with the instructions to shoot the students on the April 10th and 11th?
The unfortunate part of it is his representative, who was in charge in his absence, was a woman who has kids, who knows what it costs when you see your children in certain conditions, was the first person who came out to say the shooting started from the students. But the sad story is there was no security personnel who even has a bruise on his body, on his or her body. So her saying that means she was totally aware of what was happening and the situation at the time. She too is responsible of what has happened to the students.
And you're referring to Aissatou Njie, the previous vice president of the Gambia?
Obviously, yes.
Can you tell us where she made these statements that you refer to?
On national TV, television, and the radio.
Is it correct that you said she accused the students of shooting at the security officers first?
Yeah, that is what he said, that the shooting started from the students. Meaning, when the security personnel shoots back, they were defending themselves.
Did you hear the announcement that she made?
I later on had to hear it from people. I personally did not hear it over the air because I was in hospital at the time, and RVH, they will not be watching GRTS at that time, so it's obvious. What is certain is she was the one who said it. I am sure of that.
And can you just tell us, when she made this statement, I mean, what was the reaction from the public when she made the statement that it was the students who started shooting, or what did you make of that particular statement?
I know people will feel bad, but the reaction would not have any impact, because if innocent children can be shot and 14 of them were shot to death, if the vice president made those remarks and you want to challenge her, you might probably see yourself as those 14 students that were shot to death.
Was there any evidence of the fact that the students were carrying weapons and had the ability to shoot at security personnel on those 2 dates, the 10th and 11th of April?
Maybe she saw it, but I don't think. It was on exams day throughout the Gambia. So it's obviously students were just with their pens and pencils and exercise books ready for their exams.
You were demonstrating with students at Esau Senior Secondary School. Did any one of you have weapons?
No, I did not see it.
And the students who were in the combos as well, did you receive any information to suggest that they actually had weapons with them?
No, not.
What about the security personnel? Were any of them shot, injured, or killed as a result of these shots that they claim came from the students?
Nobody was admitted at the hospital. That is a security personnel who was shot because of the demonstration. I did not see it, and there was no confirmation of any security personnel who was admitted at the hospital.
Okay. Kindly tell us what happened when Yaya Jammeh came to the hospital and visited you.
When he came there, when he get to my bed, I pretend as I was sleeping. So it was a group of people. We have all these doctors, senior doctors at the RVTH. I can feel they were holding my leg and giving him the impression that all these boys will be okay and they will continue their normal lives.
And did you think that was an accurate statement at that point?
That was not the case. It was not an accurate statement. They were just saying that to please him.
Did he come with other people when he came to visit you? Did you notice any senior government officials with him?
I did not want to look at these people. I feel I was sleeping. So I covered up my head. I closed my eyes. I know there are so many people. There are so many security personnel there, military officers they came with their guns in the hospital, have to mount everywhere, guard everywhere, even in the wards.
Were you intimidated by that, considering the fact that you were shot by security officers?
No. Already I have undergone, I know what being shot looks like, so I don't mind them. Even if they killed me at the time, I would feel okay.
Okay. So after the doctors reassured Yaya Jammeh that all of you would be fine, what happened next? Did he do anything else?
No, eventually my condition continued to deteriorate together with Asan Suare and Yusuf Ambai, who was at the intensive care unit for more than 2 weeks or more.
This is the first time you're mentioning Yusuf Ambai, did you say?
Yes.
You said he was at the intensive care unit?
Yes.
Okay. So this was different from the ward that you were in?
No, it's different. He was in the ICU.
Were there other student victims who were also in the ICU?
No, I only know of him, but I know Hassan was upstairs at 6 and 7 ward because he was shot in his stomach.
Can you tell us who Hassan was? Hassan what?
Hassan Suare, he too was a student from Masca.
Where is Masca located?
It's within the combos, and he was a Red Cross volunteer too.
What about Yusufa Mbayas? Which school did he come from?
He was in Pipeline Comprehensive.
We will come back to these two victims, but I just want to take you back to the visit from Yaya Jammeh. I had previously asked you a question about if he did anything after, during or after the visit that he made to you. Do you remember him doing anything for you?
Yeah, after his visit, just one fine day, there is this lady that came with provisions, and she said she's coming from the office of the president.
Who was the lady?
She was Fatoumata Jahumpa Sise.
And who was she?
At the time, I don't know what her position was, but I know she was coming from the office of the president.
And what did she bring?
She came with provisions, biscuits, juice, cornflakes, but I did not eat it. I told my mom, you have to give this to, you have to give it out. So he gave it to other patients who were not victims. He just gave it to them. She just gave it to them. I said I was not going to use it.
And why did you refuse to use them?
I understand it was coming from Yaya Jammeh, and to protect our life was much more important than giving us provisions.
When he was at the hospital visiting you, did he say anything about, justice being done in your case, or prosecuting those who actually inflicted these injuries upon you?
No, not at that time. He did not say anything. He was just walking from bed to bed. And when he gets there, he will just ask the doctors what is his condition, what hope he will improve and stuff like that. I will had him saying, but I did not want to look at him. And most of the students in the ward did the same thing. We have this very good nurse at our ward. They will brief us, he is coming here, but if you can avoid talking to him, you guys better do that. Because they felt it was so unjust for those kind of things to happen to kids.
And do you know how long it was after you were in hospital that Yaya Jammeh came to visit you?
I did not remember actually how long it takes, but it will be after 1 month or so. 1 month, it will be after 1 month.
And do you know whether before or after this time anything was actually done about your situation? I mean, were there any arrests made? I mean, were the security officials who shot at you arrested for what they had done?
No. I had never heard of any security personnel who was arrested.
Was there any prosecution?
They shut up an inquest to look into the matter of April 10th, 11.
And what inquests are you referring to?
Commission of Inquiry.
When was this set up?
This was set up in 2000, but it was in August. Then I was already taken to Egypt. It was in my absence that inquiry was set up.
And do you know what happened as a result of that inquiry? Did anything fruitful come out of it?
The commission made their recommendations, but all those that were to be prosecuted were being indemnified. This is what bring about the Indemnity Bill, and there is impunity. It brought impunity out of it.
Tell us more about the Indemnity Bill. What was that?
This was to indemnify the perpetrators who shot at students and those that were responsible in the killings of the students were the ones that were indemnified.
And by them being indemnified, do you mean that they could no longer be prosecuted in court?
Exactly.
And therefore, you basically had no legal remedy for what they had done to you?
Exactly.
You mentioned that, let's just go back to the two victims that you mentioned, Yusufa Mbai, who was in ICU, and also Asan Suare.
Yes.
Can you kindly tell us more about Yusufa Mbai? How did you know Yusufa Mbai?
Yusufa is a family member, I could say. His father was named after I have a younger brother who is named after his father. My mom and his mom are best of friends, and my younger brother was named after his father. So eventually it became a family tie. And because of that, I had my younger brother Aliu, who has to sacrifice and drop out of school so that he can be taken care of Yusufa, because he is paralyzed from the neck down. He can't do anything for himself. So Aliu had to sacrifice his educational career so that he could be taken care of Yusufa for his daily activities.
And this Aliu you mentioned, what are his full names?
He is Aliu Senghore.
Is he your biological brother?
Yes, he's my biological brother. He's my younger brother.
And where does he work?
He's currently working here in the Trrc as a victim support unit officer.
And you're saying that he was brought up by Yusufa's family?
Yes.
Can you tell us how Yusufa was actually shot?
Actually, it's because he went during the demonstration. He knew Ali went to school. So, because he was so young, well, I think he was in grade 6 or grade 7. So he decided to go and look for Ali, which eventually caused him being shot. That was on the 10th of April.
So he was shot whilst he was out looking for Aliu?
Yes.
And eventually Aliu had to sacrifice his education to look after him?
Yes, that was the only thing he could do to pay back what Yusufa was trying to do for him.
And sorry to interrupt you. Have you finished?
Yes.
Where was he shot?
He was shot on the neck here, and it has to affect his nerves, so he is paralyzed from the neck downward.
His spinal cord was affected, is that correct?
Yes.
So he's paralyzed from the neck down?
Yes.
And what other symptoms does he have? Is he able to do anything for himself, being paralyzed?
He is on a wheelchair for 19 years. He can't do anything for himself.
Tell me about Asan Suare that you mentioned. What ward was he in?
Asan was in 6 and 7. He's the ward that is up. After 8 and 3, you get up. If you climb up, there was where he was admitted. Asan was shot in his stomach, which eventually caused him lost one of his kidneys.
Was there any other symptoms that developed from that?
Yeah, he normally filled his stomach. He would have this swollen stomach and always oozing, something oozing coming out of his stomach, which has complications, and he mostly have felt this severe pain. Could only eat soft food, cake and stuff like that. Even if he eats rice, he have to have problems.
Did Yusuf and Hassan have any medical treatment like you did at the RVTH?
Yeah, we were there. We all received the same normal treatments. At some point, Yusufa has to be evacuated to Egypt because his condition was getting worse.
Before he was evacuated to Egypt, can you tell us what treatment he received here at the RVH?
He was operated. He was taken to the theater, operated. The blood was removed from his neck around here. It was removed around here. And an opening has to be made on his gullet here where only soft food can be pumped. For him, that was the means he uses to eat, which was so challenging. His first operations was not good. He has to be taken back to the theater. The first operator has to be removed again, and another one was made. When we get to Egypt, the Egyptian doctor will walk to his room and tell us, "I saved the life of this boy."
Okay, we will get to your trip to Egypt, but I would just like to concentrate on what happened here in the Gambia before we get there. Can you tell us if Hassan Suare was also operated on here in the Gambia?
Yes, he was operated because the blood, he has a blood, so he was operated and the blood was removed from his stomach, and the affected kidney was also removed.
And was that operation successful here in the Gambia?
Yeah, I would say it was successful because if not, he could have lost his life. With Hassan, actually he was removed among the dead bodies that were at the accident and emergency. Already they thought he already passed away. With the help of a cousin who was a Red Cross who rushed to the hospital, he actually went there to donate blood. After removing patients that were dead already, the dead bodies, that was the time he realized the boy here is still breathing, but then he did not know it was his cousin. After he pulled him out of the dead bodies, he recognized that it was his cousin that was even packed among the dead bodies.
Wow, what a fascinating story. So, I mean, if he had not discovered him, this poor boy would have just bled to death and been buried with the other dead bodies.
Yes.
You mentioned your trip to Egypt, but before we get there, can you tell us if there was any medical report that was done here in Gambia on your condition and the condition of Hassan, as well as Yusufa or any other person, any other student victim that was admitted at the RVH that you know of?
Yes, there was a medical board that was set up to look into our conditions because it was getting out of hand. My tools were totally gangrene and they have no other solution to it. So I think that board it comprises of, I think it was Dr. Cisse, if I could recall. Dr. Nawa was part of that board, an Egyptian.
Please tell us who Dr. Cisse was and who Dr. Nawa was. And
Dr. Nawa was an orthopedic surgery doctor here.
He was the one that operated on you, Yusufa, and
on
Hassan.
On me.
On you.
Yeah. And we have this other doctor, Dr. Suleiman. He was a surgical doctor. He operated on Hassan and Yusufa.
And these doctors were working at the RVH at the time?
Yes.
What about Dr. Cisse?
Actually, with Hassan, there is this other Nigerian doctor called Dr. Salako. He was a surgeon. He did help Hassan a lot because he was staying at the hospital. So anytime he was called for Hassan, he would just come and give assistance and get back to his room. He was a Nigerian, Dr. Salako.
Did you know of any other members of the medical board?
We have this other Egyptian doctor too, Dr. Gruber too. He too was among.
And what nationality was Dr. Gruber?
He was Egyptian.
You mentioned a few Egyptian doctors at RVTH. How did they come to be employed there?
No, that I did not know. Probably that is government where they were here.
It was the government that brought them to the Gambia to work there?
Yes, exactly.
At the time, who was the Minister of Health?
It was Dr. Njai, Malik Njai.
And what about the Director of Health Services?
Dr. Mariatu Jallo.
And was she directly in charge of RVTH at the time?
Yes, she was directly in charge of RVTH.
So tell us what happened with the medical board. What did they do, and did they make any recommendations on your behalf?
Yes, after they did their examinations and all stuff, they recommended that we needed overseas treatment at a more sophisticated country. They've told us we recommend for you guys, that is you, Hassan and Yusufa, to be taken to either America or Europe. But at some point they decided to change their mind, and we were then evacuated to Egypt instead of America or Europe.
And why did that happen?
When I asked, they said it was because there are Gambians in the diaspora who were constantly following on our case, and they really built interest in it, and they talked a lot about it at the international level. So if they allow us to go to Europe or America, those people might use that opportunity and have something to say against our case to the international world against the Gambia government.
And did you have any particular groups that were interested in your case at this point?
Yes, at that time they called themselves Concerned Gambians. We have one lady who was so prominent in that group. She happens to be an elder sister to Hassan, and she is Siga Jany.
That was Siga Jany, did you say?
Yes, Siga Jany, I mean.
Okay, and what kind of activities did they do surrounding your matter?
They were reporting our case to the international world, the UN, United Nations, Human Rights, EU, and they were so helpful, raising funds for us. I could even remember they do send us money sometimes when we were in Egypt. They do send us money to take care of our personal things.
And as a result of this attention that you were getting, the government did not want you to go to a Western country. Is that what you said?
Yes, exactly.
And why do you think they did not want that attention on you? What would be the reason?
Maybe they have a hidden agenda that they don't want the international world to know. They don't want the West to know about our conditions and what led to the April 10th, 11 incident.
So they did not want the correct information about what happened to you to get out?
Exactly.
Okay. Kindly just continue from where you stopped off and tell us what happened after the medical board met and made the recommendations that they made.
Yeah, after the recommendations that they made, they said they will take us to Egypt, and that was the final thing they agreed on.
Sorry, Mr. Senghore, can you tell me if this was the first medical board that was set up to look into your case?
No, it was not the first. There was a first medical board that first say we did not need an overseas treatment. Then the second one, that was when they said we needed overseas treatment.
And you've already explained your situation, the operations that you had, and how unsuccessful they were, as well as Yusuf Mbais. Can you tell us whether the reason why you were referred for overseas treatment was because of the fact that these operations that you had done locally were not successful?
Yeah, it will be part of it, and they needed a vascular doctor to repair the vessels that were cut from my leg, and they needed an angiogram scanner, X-ray, which was not available at the time. That was part of the medical report and the recommendations that they have.
So the Gambia, at this point, the Gambia did not have competent medical services available for you, and that is why you had to leave the country and seek treatment overseas.
Exactly.
Do you have a copy of the medical report that was issued by the medical board?
Yes.
Okay. If I show you the report, will you be able to identify it?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Usher, can you please show the witness the report? Thank you.
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. Kindly give it back, please. Mr. Chairman, I would like to add in the record the medical board report on Sainey Senghore, which is the witness, dated the 26th day of April 2001. And actually, the report is dated the 12th day of January 2001. My apologies. But there's a letter attached to it dated the 26th day of April 2001 from the then Director of Medical Services to Sainey Senghore, attaching the report. I would like to add it as part of the record as Exhibit 0071. 72, my apologies, 0072.
Fine.
A and B, I am reminded.
Request granted.
Thank you. Mr. Usher, can you kindly give this to the commissioners to have a look at? Okay, Mr. Chairman, as the commissioners are having a look at the report, I would just like to remind you that the medical report basically is recommending treatment for Sainey Senghore overseas. Thank you. Mr. Senghore, can we kindly continue with our testimonies whilst the commissioners are looking at the report? Did you eventually go to Egypt?
Yes, that would be 2 months after I was admitted at the RVTH.
And that would then be June 2000.
Exactly.
You mentioned that the three of you went to, sorry, can you tell us who went to Egypt?
It was 3 of us, me, Hassan, and Yusufa. Yusufa was the first one who was taken to Egypt. He went there after 2 weeks, then I was taken there and Hassan.
How was Yusufa taken to Egypt? Was he escorted by anyone?
Yes, he was escorted by a doctor because his condition was so serious that he needed a doctor to escort him.
Do you know what doctor escorted him?
Yes, Dr. Nawa escorted him.
And how were you taken to Egypt? How did you travel to Egypt, yourself and Hassan?
We traveled by air.
Were you escorted by anyone?
Yes, we were escorted by one nurse called Jula. She was the head nurse at the hospital at the ward 8 and 3. And the Egyptian doctor too went with us. That is Dr. Gruber. He too went with us.
Tell us what happened when you traveled to Egypt.
When we traveled to Egypt, the day that we arrived there, I think it would be around 11 or 12 a.m. And we have to drive 1 hour 30 minutes to the hospital. It's in Cairo, but is in Aguza. There is Aguza.
And that is an area in Cairo.
It's an area in Cairo, yeah.
Okay. At this point, what were your ages, all three of you?
I was around 17.
And Yusuf Ambai, how old was he?
He was 17. We were almost age mates.
What about Hassan Suare?
He too was 17.
And you were minors at this point, you were children?
Exactly.
Did any of your family members accompany you?
No, they said we cannot go with our family members. So we were escorted by Jula, the nurse, and she only spent 1 week with us at the hospital and she has to come back.
So from that point onwards, you were on your own at the hospital in a foreign country?
Yes.
Okay, kindly tell us what happened when you arrived in Egypt.
When we arrived that night, we were taken to our different wards. Actually, it's a private block. We were taken each to a room. So the following day, they just came to my ward and give me a paper, and this would be around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because in the night I was told not to eat in the morning. So when I ate in the night, I was told not to eat. I can only drink water and juice, but let me not eat food. So around 3, they just came and gave me a paper and said that I should sign this paper. When I asked, they said, because you are going to the theater, and it's obviously that you should have to sign a paper before you are being taken to the theater, which I did.
You signed this document?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to talk to your parents or any of your relatives before you signed that document, considering the fact that you were a child at that point?
No. I couldn't talk to my family, and that would be after, I think that would be after 2 weeks when we get there. After the day that I talked to my mom and I explained to her how my operation went, I could feel she was crying in the background, but I was like, Mom, it was okay. It went fine anyway. So I just wanted to give her that courage.
Okay. What about before you left the Gambia? Was it explained to you and your family in detail what operations you were going to have in Egypt, and did they give them an opportunity to consent or not?
No, they did not, because when the medical report came out, they just called them. They just called them at the at the admin block and told them the boys will be referred to Egypt for further treatment. But the kind of treatment that they would have there were not discussed with them, because they did not tell me anything.
So did they eventually go ahead with the operation?
Yes, they go ahead with the operations, and it lasted for 8 hours.
And what operation was this?
This was when 5 of my toes were amputated because of the gangrene. And the blood vessels that were cut from my leg were repaired by the vascular doctor. At the same time, the multiple fracture of my leg was fixed at the same time.
So you had essentially you had 3 operations done?
Yeah, at the same simultaneously.
And how did you feel afterwards? What was your physical condition?
I was totally drilled because the operation was too long. Being under anesthesia for 8 hours. When I came out of the theater, it took me almost 24 hours before I could feel on my tongue. So it was totally dead.
And apart from the nurse that accompanied you from the Gambia to Egypt, were there any other nurses at this hospital in Cairo who took care of you?
That nurses, they are only responsible of giving you medicine. They will not inject you. They will only come and give you medicine when the time for you to take your medicine. They will come and give you medicine. If you have been taken to the theater, they will escort you with your file to the gate, and they will drop the file on your trolley. And she would just say in Arabic, Rabbana Khalik, meaning good luck to you. That was what she would just say, Rabbana Khalik. I don't know exactly.
And how long did the nurse from the Gambia remain with you?
1 week.
And what happened after that week? Who was caring for you?
We were there alone, but the doctor that operated me here was there. He did not come back at that time. He have to spend almost a month with us there. Oh no, 3 weeks.
Which doctor are you referring to?
Dr. Now. 3 weeks with us. He will come to the hospital every day. He attended my operations there.
During this time, did you have an opportunity to communicate with your family frequently?
That is after 2 weeks that I had my operations.
That was the first time you spoke to your family?
Yes. I spoke to Siga before that time, but I didn't spoke to my mom or any other person within the family.
Thank you, Mr. Senghore. We'll have to stop there for now. We have our lunch break now, and we'll continue after the break. Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, it's time for a break, so we'll leave it there for now until we come back.
Thank you very much, Council, and thank you, Mr. Senghore. We will take a 1 hour break and come back at 2:30 sharp. Meeting is adjourned.